When a lot of people think about money and they hear conversations about wealth, I think some people kind of cringe because they think of
Yeah.
money as being quite an ugly thing.
Uh-huh.
And some people think it's quite an evil thing. The desire to accumulate more of it, they see as being, I don't know, selfish or some maybe even manipulative or I don't know. So how do you square that for those people?
I mean, first of all, I would just say you're never going to attract it if you don't like it. If you think it's evil, you're certainly not going to make much of it. And that sounds touchy-feely, and I'm from Austin, and I kind of like crystals, so maybe that
Mm.
is a little touchy-feely, but it's the truth of the matter. It's just like women these days who say, all men are bad. I can't find a man. I don't like men anywhere. Do you think you're going to find one that way? If you say things like that, are you going to be in partnership? Of course not. You're going to repel them because you don't even like them. It's the same thing with money. It's very common sense when you think about it. And so I always like to think about money as it's that tool in your toolbox. It's like, so do I want somebody else to have the chainsaw or do I want it? Well, I'd rather have it because I think I'm a good person and I think that I could help more people with it. And so people really need to lose the emotional attachment to money, especially if it's negative. I think there's a lot bigger issue with too many people thinking money is bad than too many people thinking money is good. And that's weird if you think about it, because the opposite is usually what we're told, right?
And in that analogy of it being like a woman looking for a man, but saying that men are bad, etc., does the woman in that analogy, but also in the analogy of money, also need to feel like she's deserving of a
Mm.
good man? I.e., do you need to feel like you're deserving of money in order to attract it? I mean, this maybe strays into things like manifestation and whatever else, but do you have to feel like you deserve to be rich, do you think, in order to attract more money into your life? Does it change how you make your decisions, how you show up, negotiate?
Certainly. I mean, I think the truth of the matter is that if you want to attract things, the best way to get them is to be great yourself. So if you want a great partner, be a great partner. If you want to be rich, you need to start doing things where you're acting rich. And I don't mean by spending, but like, what would a rich person do if they wanted to achieve X, Y, and Z? Well, they probably work harder. They surround themselves with different types of people. And but then I realized there's so many people that do not believe in themselves and do have negative stories they have to break before they can take one tactic and do anything.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. First, you got to believe it.
It does feel like it's really the crux of all of this stuff because the evidence you have or don't have, I guess, forms what we call self-belief. And some people who, with all the will in the world, they just can't believe in themselves because they have deeper systemic sort of self-esteem issues. And I guess this ties into the conversation around like feeling like an imposter. And the reason I reference this is because I remember many years ago as you were talking, a friend of mine saying that when he finally got some money, he just had a huge sense of guilt because his father had worked really, 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 really hard and been paid a fraction of what the money he'd made. So he always had the sense of sort of guilt with his money, like he didn't deserve it, like he was an imposter potentially. And a lot of people struggle with that,
Yeah.
They think it's for other people.
Yeah. I mean, I do think like where your body goes, your belief follows. And so I was at this event for women and it was like pretty high up people in finance and only females in the crowd. And it was the first time that I realized that a lot of people have a negative relationship with women because the facilitator asked everybody to close their eyes.
With money?
With money.
Okay.
So the facilitator said, I want you to picture money, put your eyes closed, picture money, and then have a visual representation with your body of how you feel when you hear the word money. Right? So in my mind, I hear the word money, I go, money, like, yeah, give me more of that, like it. Big V, right? And yet when I looked down, she said, freeze, open your eyes. And so then we opened our eyes and we looked around. Could you imagine what most of these high-powered women looked like? It was like fetal position or like money or like money or like money, just very small. And that's when I realized, oh, of course they're not going to get a ton of it because that's their feeling with money. And so what she recommended that I have since done with a lot of the women that I've engaged with is say, when you think about money, all I want you to do, just make a big expressive movement with your body. Like, am I going to get that salary? Yes, I am. Do I want more of it? Give it to me. And I do think your body ends up really determining how your brain functions. And Tony's talked about this and a lot of other people that have. So maybe if you don't think you deserve money, I don't know how to fix your brain right away, but I do know how to fix your body, which is just make a big movement that tells your body that money is good for you. Don't make a protective small movement that makes you in fear. make a big movement that gives you into abundance. And so that stuck with me for a long time.
I find it interesting as well, thinking about who talks about money, because men talk about money a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if women talk about money in private, but I know my male friends are all talking about their money, their investments, etc. And I wondered if there's any sort of gender difference you've observed, because you speak to so many people about gender differences as relates to money.
Well, a perfect example is our audience across socials is about 60 to 65% men. And I'm a woman. And yet it's actually quite hard to get women interested and engaged on these issues.
That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so, I think a lot of women, first of all, they think it's a little cringe. There's not normalization of it. So, there's never a group where women are getting together on the 19th hole at a golf course and talking about the deals that they did that week. That's very normal for men, right? Where would women all get together to talk about their business aspects? Like, I don't think there exists a container for that. And so I'm big on this belief that everybody should learn how to get money, especially if you're a woman. You don't have to go be a girl boss. And if you want to stay home and take care of the kids and be a trad wife, that's amazing. But understand where your money is located, understand how it's made in your family, understand how much things cost, what you spend. And there's nothing more fun than making your first dollar on your own. It's very liberating.
Do you think money's seen as a masculine thing? Investing, wealth creation, do you think those are all seen as masculine?
I mean, investment banking is 87.6% male.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The finance industry in general is 65% plus male. So that would tell me yes.
Feels like a real inequality in society that the people that are working in finance are heavily male, but also finance and money is power.
Right. Well, I mean, time in career, right? I mean, they just have had longer to have access to that industry. And so I don't think there's some big conspiracy theory happening. I think what happened is women haven't had the right to work for as long. Finance is the highest paid industry of all industries that you could go into. It's also one of the most competitive. It also has one of the highest barriers to entry in number of licensing, graduate degrees, et cetera. It's also one of the most competitive to get into those positions. And so, of course, it's going to be dominated by those who have, an unfair advantage from more time attempting to do this. I think if history shows us anything recently, there's going to be more women in it going forward.
So if I took you back to your first dollar and I took away everything that you have, but also I take away all of your contacts, you can keep your brain, but you can't keep your contacts. And I set you the challenge in 2024 of building your wealth from scratch. What are the first things that come to mind to get you going? So you're in a studio apartment, you are broke, you have all the information you have no contacts. What do you do?
Am I allowed to be 20 again, or do I have to be 37?
You can be 20.
Okay. If I'm young.
Why did you ask that?
Well, I think it's easier when you're young, if we're honest. When you're young, people who have money, they see themselves in you at an earlier date. If you got that hunger, I mean, one of our rules in hiring is hire people so hungry you're scared they might bite you. And so when you're young, you've had this happen. You meet a young man who's just got that fire, right? He doesn't know anything, but you can just see in him that he will do whatever it takes. He's here before you. He's here after you. He's coming up with ideas. He's doing jobs to the point where you're like, chill, bro. Like, that's not even your job, right?
A couple of them in here.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you do with those guys? You're like, I'm going to help you. Why? Because actually you see yourself in them. It's like a weird, selfish father-mother thing we have. We're like, I see you. I remember being you. I'm going to help you. And so if you're young, what I think you do is you get with the biggest, baddest guy you can find or gal you can find, and who's already successful, who you think has the life that you want, and you do everything possible to provide value to them. And that's probably a bunch of sweat equity stuff. That's probably a bunch of bullshit in the beginning. But it's so rare. Like, intense competence is so rare. And when you're young, I think you throw it away with these ideas of like quiet quitting and not engaging. Like, that is your moment to show that fire. And then what happens is you're only going to need to do that for like a year or two with a few players, and you're going to move quickly. Because if you are with people who have a ton of resources, what is your biggest constraint in your business right now? Is it money? Do you not have enough money? Could you raise more if you needed it? Of course. Do you need more attention? No, you get hundreds of millions of views. Do you need more ideas? Probably not. You got a lot of them. What do you need?
People.
You need people. You need hungry little ankle biters that are willing to do whatever it takes. And so people don't like this answer, but it's not like I would do real estate. I would do podcasting. It's go find a person who is so rich, but willing to give you a shot for as long as you can.
Okay, so let's zoom in on that then, because someone's going to hear that now and they're going to go, cool, got it, Codie. And they're going to go on LinkedIn and they're just going to start peppering Bill Gates and Elon Musk, etc. You know what I mean? So let's make this a little bit
They're
practical.
like, this didn't work, Codie.
Yeah.
Elon didn't text me back.
Yeah. If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.